The name of this book is called You Are a Gift to the World. It's a personal narrative of my journey of going from a place of not believing or thinking that I'm a gift to the world to actually believing that I'm a gift to the world. And so through this book I want to share my experience of that journey, of that transformative journey that takes place inside of me, in the way that I'm seeing myself, in the way that I'm seeing the world around me. And as I begin to see myself differently, the way that I perceive myself, the way that I look at myself in a very real way, then I begin to see the world around me in a different way as well. And over the past 8 or 9 years, I've worked as a spiritual life coach and a counselor, working closely with people. And I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people. And I know through that experience of working with people that this is happening with many people, that we treat ourselves very harshly, and we're very hard and harsh towards ourselves in our inner dialogues in our own head, the conversations that we're having with ourselves inside of our head, what we're saying to ourselves. And what I found is that with many people there's always an underlying or an unconscious thoughts that are running that's saying, I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, I can't do it. And these unconscious thoughts that are running in our consciousness they're shaping it, and they're manifesting our experience of the world. You know, there's a thing called the law of attraction. Some of you may have heard of it. And the whole idea of the law of attraction says that we create our own reality through our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And what I really believe it is that we create the experience of our reality through our thoughts, feelings, and actions. So that it doesn't have so much to do with what's actually happening outside of us. We think it's about attracting things outside of us. But what it's really about is, it's the story. It's the story that we're telling ourselves, about what's happening outside of us. That is what really creates the experience of our reality. And that is where all our power lies. It lies right in here, in between these two ears. It's the words that we're saying to ourselves. And so these simple words that my mother said to me my whole life, Michael, you are a gift to the world. Well, in between my ears, the way that I responded to that for many, many, many years was, that's not true. I don't believe that. You're just saying that because you're my mother. It's not true. But the beautiful gift was, she said it to me enough that at one point in time I started to entertain that idea. I started to think to myself, maybe I am a gift to the world. Maybe I really am a gift to the world. And I started to buy into that belief. And as I started to buy into that belief, then I started to have real experiences that supported that belief. Because prior to that I had another belief. A belief that I wasn't good enough, or I can't do it, or nobody loves me. And so this book is really about, it's a personal narrative story, my personal narrative. I'm using myself as an example in that journey from not believing in myself, not believing who I am, to the place of believing that I am a gift to the world. There's two experiences that stand out in my life. One of them is, and both of them are centered around the kitchen in the house that I grew up in. When I was about 10 years old, my mother had me painting on the kitchen table. She was painting something and I was painting something. We were both painting trees. About halfway through, I looked at my tree and I looked at her tree. And I started to compare my tree to hers. I felt like my tree looked like a lollipop and her tree looked like a real tree. And I started getting upset, and I was about to leave the table. I said, I'm done. I quit. And she said, oh no, Michael, your tree is beautiful. And this just made me more angry. And I said, no, it's not. You're just saying that. You always say that. It's just like her other saying that she used to always say, you are a gift to the world. She said, let me show you something, Michael. Let me show you something. So she took a little bit of color and she put some yellow in the tree that I was working on. She said, look, do you see that? Do you see that? And I said, no. She put a little orange in there. She said, do you see that? And I started seeing something. I said, maybe I do. Maybe I do. And so she said, you get some color. So I got some color and I put some color in there. And we were both putting color in this tree. Orange, yellow, blue, everything. Well, fast forward, by the time we were done with this tree, you understand, I'm a 10-year-old boy. By the time we were done with this tree, I thought this was the greatest tree in the world. And I remember feeling that feeling in my heart. And I can even remember the image of this tree in my mind with all these different colors. I wish I still had the original tree. Remember, we took that tree and we put it on the bulletin board and we'd look at it every day and we'd talk about it. We talked about this tree for the rest of my life. We'd bring it up through stories. And what I discovered is that my mother passed away a few years ago of cancer. And I was thinking about that particular story one day, and it struck me that whatever it is that my mother did with me that day, in that painting and with that tree, it is the very thing that I do with people in my coaching business, and with my friends, and with my family. It's as though I can help people to see how beautiful their tree is, how beautiful that they really are. I have that special gift. And my mother showed that to me, or she brought that out of me. And I do this all the time. And I feel so much gratitude to her for that. I mean, in that moment when I realized that, it was a profound experience for me. I also had another dream about my mother. I had a dream about my mother after she passed away. And in this dream, I was transported into that exact kitchen that I was in when I was growing up. And it was like I was in that kitchen when I was 10 years old. But I was my age. I was 38 years old. And I could hardly believe that I was in the kitchen. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in here. I mean, it felt more real to me than this reality right now. The kitchen was vibrant. It was alive. I could see the blueness of the walls. I remember touching the countertops, thinking, oh my God, I'm here. I'm in this kitchen. I can't believe it. It was so solid, so real. And it was as though something or someone put me in this kitchen to see what my life was like in a very real way at that point in time. And I looked over towards the stove and my mother was standing there. And she was just smiling at me. And I walked over to her and I looked at her. And I was almost in disbelief. I couldn't believe that I was looking at her. I mean, I knew this was her. And she was just smiling at me. And I remember I grabbed her hand and I kissed her hand. And I said, I love you so much. I love you so much. And I just gratitude was just pouring out of me and love. And she was just smiling at me. And she didn't say anything back to me, but it was as though her eyes and her smile and her face was just saying, I love you too. And then I just remember waking up from the dream and writing that dream down immediately. But that particular dream, it confirmed something for me, and this is part of what's in the book as well, is that through that experience of that dream, and I knew this on some level, I knew this for sure on some level, but through that dream, I knew that I had not really lost my mother. And so that's part of what this book is about. It has something to do, there's an aspect of it, a main theme that has to do with loss and losing. And how I believe that we really can't lose anything. We think that we lose things. We think we lose relationships, people. We think we lose money, houses, cars, all the outside forms. But what it is that we